Viewers, have you ever noticed that some people aren't especially good looking, aren't particularly rich, and don't dominate every conversation with their words? Yet wherever they go, people respect them, listen to them carefully, and their presence is felt on its own? On the other hand, some people try their absolute hardest, constantly trying to prove themselves, trying to keep others happy, explaining everything, replying to every message instantly, filling every silence with words. And yet, despite all this, they never get the respect they're waiting for. So what's the real difference between the two? There's only one difference. One person is busy proving their worth, while the other is busy simply living their character. And once you understand this psychological secret, you'll start seeing people's behavior in a completely different light. Today we won't talk about any tricks, dark psychology, manipulation, or emotional games. We'll talk about two forces that seem very simple on the surface, but are actually the foundation of a strong personality. The first is warm presence, a calm presence that makes others feel you're truly there with them. The second is selective silence, a dignified silence that isn't weakness, but a sign of self-confidence. When these two qualities come together in one personality, that person doesn't beg for attention or chase others. Instead, people are naturally drawn toward them. The biggest trap of trying to prove your worth. It's a basic human psychological need to be accepted, appreciated, and seen as important by others. The problem doesn't start there. It starts when we begin trying to prove our importance. You've surely seen people who, in every meeting, start listing their achievements, how many contacts they have, how good their job is, how good their salary is, how many people like them, how many people work under them, how busy they are. They believe that the more they talk about themselves, the more impressed people will be. But the human mind works strangely. When someone constantly states their own worth, a question quietly forms in the listener's subconscious. If this person is really so valuable, why do they need to keep proving it? This is why many people, in trying to prove their importance, actually diminish it. Think about your own life. Hasn't it happened that someone was slow to reply to your message? So you sent another, then a third, then explained yourself. I only messaged again in case you hadn't seen it. Or if someone showed annoyance, you spent hours justifying yourself, just hoping they wouldn't misunderstand you. In psychology, this is called validation seeking, trying to prove your inner worth through others' approval. And sadly, the more a person seeks others' approval, the less dignified they appear. Remember, a person who constantly announces their own value will not be valued by others. But a person who quietly lives life on their own terms, people start valuing them on their own. The real psychology of warm presence. So if constantly talking, explaining, and proving yourself isn't the answer, how does a person leave a good impression on others? The answer is through your presence. Many people think simply sitting with someone means being present with them, but the truth is the opposite. Nowadays, people are physically together, but mentally elsewhere. Someone's checking their phone, someone's thinking of their next reply, someone's just waiting for their turn to speak. In such an environment, if someone truly listens to you with full attention, looks you in the eye while speaking, doesn't rush to give their opinion, and makes you feel that in this moment their whole focus is on you, that person doesn't remain just an ordinary person to you. They become memorable. This is warm presence. It's not just about staying quiet or sitting together. It's a calm presence in which you make others feel important, without diminishing your own importance. And this is exactly where respect begins to form, because everyone in the world wants to be heard, but very few people truly listen. When you make people feel that what they say matters, that they matter, they subconsciously begin to see your presence as important too. You become important to them. But here's a crucial point. Presence alone isn't enough. If warm presence isn't paired with dignified silence, a person can appear excessively available. And that's the secret we'll talk about next, selective silence. What exactly is it? How is it different from the silent treatment? And how does this very silence build respect for you in people's hearts? Silence that is not punishment, it's the power of character. Here it's important to clear up a major misunderstanding. As soon as people hear the power of silence, they immediately think of the silent treatment, deliberately ignoring someone, not replying, punishing them through silence. But the silence I'm talking about has nothing to do with that. Punishing silence breaks connection. Dignified silence strengthens it. In psychology, this can be called selective silence. Silence born not from reaction, but from awareness. This silence doesn't exist to hurt the other person. It exists because you refuse to become a slave to your own emotions. When does a person make the most mistakes? In anger, in fear, and in the fear of losing someone. That's exactly when a person talks too much, over-explains, calls again and again, messages again and again, even sacrifices their own dignity, all in the hope that the other person won't leave. But the truth is the opposite. Talking more rarely solves the problem. It usually creates more confusion, because when emotions aren't in control, words don't come out thoughtfully. They come out as reactions, and reactions often weaken a person's character. This is why strong people don't reply to everything immediately. They steady themselves first, then speak. Psychology tells us that when a person is in intense emotion, the brain's emotional centers become highly active while logical thinking temporarily weakens. That's why decisions made in anger, words said in emotion, and messages sent in fear often lead to regret later. But even a few seconds of silence gives the brain a chance to regain balance. So next time someone angers you or a message unsettles you, instead of replying immediately, ask yourself one question. Am I giving this response out of self-respect or just out of fear? This one question can change your entire conversation. Two people in a room. One is talking constantly, so people won't forget them. The other speaks less, but when they do speak, everyone goes quiet to listen. The difference between them isn't the number of words, it's their weight. A person who shares their opinion on everything all the time gradually becomes ordinary. But a person who speaks thoughtfully, their words feel important because the human mind always values what isn't overly available. So silence isn't emptiness. Sometimes silence is itself a declaration. I'm in no hurry to prove myself. What selective silence really means. Selective silence doesn't mean ignoring people. It means not every accusation needs a response. Not every argument needs your participation. Not every misunderstanding needs to be cleared up, and certainly not immediately. And not every silent moment needs to be filled with words. Because sometimes your silence is more powerful than 100 arguments. When you say what you need to say and then go quiet, the other person's mind starts truly considering your word for the first time. But if you keep over-explaining, you weaken the power of your own words. You don't give their mind room to think. Put the two together. On one side, warm presence, listening to someone with full attention, respecting them, engaging with sincerity. On the other side, selective silence, not over-explaining, not reacting to everything, holding on to your dignity while still engaging in conversation. This combination makes a person not desperate, but confident. People feel safe around such a person, and they respect them because they sense this person can stay in control of themselves even in an emotional storm. And remember, a person who has no control over themselves can never earn a lasting place in others' hearts. Friends, if today's conversation has made you realize that true strength lies not in talking more, but in staying silent at the right time, write one sentence in the comments. I will make my silence my strength. Let that sentence be a promise to yourself, not to me. And if you want to understand human psychology, self-confidence, relationships, and the true power of character more deeply, subscribe to the channel Wary's Keybot. Because in the next part, we'll talk about why the human mind is naturally drawn to a personality that seeks neither attention nor approval, nor chases after anyone, yet still earns everyone's respect. How to make silence and presence part of your character. Now the question is, how do we apply this knowledge in daily life? Because the real purpose of psychology isn't just to understand why people behave the way they do. It's to learn what we should do. If you truly want people to respect you, to feel your presence, to value you, to take your words seriously, and not see you as just ordinary, start building these 4 habits into your life today. Learn to pause before responding. These days people don't respond, they react. Someone speaks harshly, instant reply. Someone criticizes, instant defense. Someone ignores you. Instant long message. But a strong personality isn't defined by having an answer for everything. It's defined by knowing when to respond and when to stay silent. Suppose your boss criticizes you in front of everyone at work. If you respond in anger right then, you might give your ego momentary relief, but you'll damage your reputation. Instead, if you calmly say, "I understand what you're saying, I'll think it over," you not only protect your dignity, but also show the other person that you make decisions from awareness, not emotion. Remember, an instant reply isn't always a sign of intelligence, but a well-considered response is always a sign of maturity. 2. Don't feel the need to fill every silence in a conversation. Many people get uncomfortable with silence. 2 seconds of quiet, and they immediately start a new topic. But in truth, a confident person isn't afraid of silent moments. Suppose you're meeting someone for the first time, and a few moments of silence come up mid-conversation. If you nervously keep talking to fill it, your unease becomes obvious. But if you smile and calmly accept that moment, the other person will naturally try to keep the conversation going. Psychology tells us that a person who is comfortable with silence makes others feel comfortable too. 3. Keep your messages composed, not anxious. This is where people often lower their own worth. One message sent, no reply. Send another, still no reply. Then, "Are you upset with me? If I did something wrong, please tell me." And finally, at least reply. Think about it. If someone puts all their focus into waiting for one reply, do they really seem like a busy, fulfilled person? Not at all. This doesn't mean you should deliberately delay replies or play games. It simply means your entire life shouldn't revolve around one person's reaction. Remember, a person who stays engaged in their own life doesn't feel the need to prove their importance every few minutes. State your boundaries in a few clear words. Setting boundaries isn't about making noise. Boundaries simply state where you'll protect your own dignity. If someone repeatedly disrespects your time, you don't need to give them a long lecture. It's enough to say, "If this behavior continues, it will be hard for me to maintain this relationship," and then stay quiet. Because something that can be said in a few clear words doesn't need 10 explanations. Friends, remember just one thing in the end. People don't respect you because you convince them of your importance. People respect you because your behavior made them feel that you know your own worth. When you stop constantly seeking approval, stop fearing every silence, stop over-explaining everything, and learn to respond with awareness instead of reaction, your personality gains a kind of magnetism that's hard to put into words. It's not the magnetism of beauty, wealth, or power. It's the magnetism of self-respect. The strongest person in the world isn't the one with the loudest voice. It's the one whose silence carries dignity and whose presence brings others peace. Remember, those who keep knocking on every door are made to wait, but those who keep walking toward their own destination eventually find every door opening for them. So the goal of your life shouldn't be to ask people for respect, but to build a character that compels people to respect you on their own. Friends, if today's video made even a small positive difference in your thinking, don't just like it. Share it with a friend who keeps losing their own character while chasing others' approval. And if you want to understand human psychology, relationships, self-confidence, and the true power of character more deeply, subscribe to our channel, The Limitless Grind. I'll see you in the next video with a new psychological secret. Until then, remember, power isn't always found in noise. Sometimes the most powerful voice is the silence behind which stands self-respect. May God be your guide and support.